Okay, let's dive right into this explainer and uncover the deeply counterintuitive business model behind the massive screens and luxury recliners of your local cinema. When you walk into a theater, grab your ticket, and sit down in the dark, you probably assume you're participating in a totally straightforward transaction. You pay to see a movie, and the theater makes its money showing it to you. Makes sense, right? But the reality is a lot more complicated, and honestly, way more fascinating than that.
To start off, we really need to ask a question that completely shatters the common assumption about how this century-old industry survives. Look, if you want to build some screens and expect to just sell tickets to watch people pile in every weekend, you have to realize one crazy thing. The movie playing on your screen is, literally by design, one of the least profitable products you will ever sell. So, what is the core product? What are they actually selling you? To understand the immense pressure this business is under, just look at the math here. Building a 10-screen multiplex comes with these absolutely staggering upfront costs. It honestly seems like a terrible investment unless they're making a fortune on tickets. Just the construction for a ground-up building, that typically runs $400 to $500 a square foot. So we're talking $18 million before you've even installed a single projector. And those fancy 4K laser projectors, they cost anywhere from $60,000 to $150,000 each, totaling about $1.5 million. By the time you add in the luxury heated recliners and that high-end Dolby audio, you realize the building itself wasn't even the expensive part. It's the technology inside it. Which brings us to Section 1, the ticket revenue illusion. Let's look at how this builds into a completely flawed business model. Now, this number right here absolutely breaks people's brains. During the first 1 to 2 weeks of a massive blockbuster's release, the movie studio can take up to 100% of the ticket revenue. That leaves the theater with absolutely nothing. Zero. And that is not a metaphor. The theater could literally keep $0 from a sold-out opening weekend on the biggest movie of the entire year. Sure, as the weeks go on, that split slowly slides toward 50-50, but let's be real. By the time that happens, the massive opening crowds have already come and gone. So the absolutely crucial point to take away here is that the theater isn't actually in the movie business at all. Nope, they are in the foot traffic and snack business. As one former theater chain executive put it really plainly, you're not running a cinema with a snack bar attached. You are running a snack bar that uses the movie as the reason people walk through the door. In fact, there's this old, blunt saying that's been passed down in the industry for decades. Find a really good location to sell popcorn and then build a movie theater there. And that takes us perfectly into Section 2, the popcorn profit engine, the real moneymaker of the whole operation. Now check out this ultimate paradox. Concessions make up only 20 to 30% of a theater's total revenue, but get this, they generate nearly half of the theater's actual profit. The tickets might bring in the bigger total dollar amount on paper, but popcorn? Popcorn brings in the far, far bigger margin. Seriously, let's talk about that markup for a second. A medium bucket of popcorn costs about 50 cents to make, but it sells for around $7 to $8. That yields a massive 1,200% markup that the theater gets to keep entirely. And soda is even better. Fountain drinks run just pennies per ounce and carry profit margins north of 85%, which basically makes soda liquid gold for these guys. And the best part for them, unlike the movie ticket, the theater keeps 100% of every single dollar spent at that concession stand. No studio, no distributor, nobody else gets a cut. If you didn't buy that overpriced popcorn and that 85% margin soda, the simple act of just watching the movie would be completely unaffordable for most casual viewers. Industry insiders straight up admit that if the snacks didn't carry the business, a standard ticket would need to cost at least $20 just for the theater to break even. Boom, that is the entire model in one single sentence. So let's look at how they pull this off in Section 3, the secret pricing strategy. This is all about how they carefully sort consumers. Think of it kind of like Microsoft's Xbox model. Just like selling a gaming console at a loss to make all your money back on the games, theaters keep the ticket price low enough to get everyone inside the building. They know for a fact that the die-hard fans will essentially subsidize the building by buying the huge deluxe combo. You've got some people who will happily pay $23 for the full ticket, popcorn, and drink experience, but others, they'll only show up if the ticket itself stays cheap. If the theater just raised ticket prices across the board to capture more money from the big spenders, they'd lose that price-sensitive crowd entirely. So their strategy? Keep the door cheap, let everyone in, and let the snack counter figure out who is willing to spend what. It's brilliant. On top of that, theaters are squeezing more money out of those diehards who are already inside the building by charging pretty significant markups for premium screens. They're doing this rather than trying to get more people through the door.
Just look at a recent year when overall theater attendance was completely flat. Even then, premium formats like IMAX, Dolby, and 4DX accounted for 50 to 60% of total ticket revenue on major releases. They are perfectly leaning into this strategy of maximizing revenue from the people who are already standing right there in the lobby.
But it's not all smooth sailing. As we'll see in Section 4, the streaming and debt squeeze, an existential crisis for the industry. The reality is, the traditional audience habit has fundamentally broken down. Look at these compounding pressures. Before the pandemic, 39% of American adults went to the movies on a monthly basis. By 2025, that completely plummeted to just 17%. The U.S. has lost roughly 5,700 movie screens. But the real structural damage here is the theatrical window. It used to be the strict 90 days of exclusivity. Now, it's literally just weeks. Shorter theatrical windows train viewers to just wait for streaming, and that creates this brutal negative feedback loop. Fewer people show up, so theaters run fewer showtimes, so studios send films to streaming even faster, which, you guessed it, gives audiences even less reason to leave the house the next time around. Add in the massive debt these companies took on just to survive the pandemic shutdowns, and it's looking grim. Take AMC, for example, the largest chain in the world, finished 2025 holding roughly $4 billion in corporate debt, plus another $4 billion in long-term lease obligations. Just think about that for a second. This is a massive company that sells billions of dollars of $8 popcorn every single year, yet they have gone through repeated rounds of refinancing just to keep the balance sheet upright. One bad summer could literally lead to a genuine crisis. So, Section 5, can communal experience save cinemas? Let's explore the path forward. If we compare a lean, independent two-screen theater to a major debt-burdened multiplex, it becomes super clear that scale just isn't an advantage anymore when fewer people are leaving their houses. See, an independent theater with startup costs under $1.5 million can run really lean hard on their snack counter, and clear a modest but healthy profit. But a giant chain multiplex, they have tens of millions in overhead, huge staffing needs, and massive interest payments. The big chain version of this business technically has scale on its side, sure, but it has a balance sheet actively working against it. And right now, the balance sheet is winning. For decades, the cinema's main competitive moat was really just having a bigger screen and louder speakers. Let's go back to 1976. IMAX had exactly one purpose: make the screen so unbelievably big that nothing in a living room could ever possibly compete. Pre-pandemic, that 90-day window enforced strict exclusivity. But today, anyone with a Best Buy credit card can replicate that theater experience right in their basement. A 4K projector, surround sound, and a massive wall-sized screen cost a tiny fraction of what they used to. So that old technological advantage, it has been completely erased. So what's actually left? Well, the only theaters truly thriving today are the ones capitalizing on the one single thing streaming structurally cannot offer: the communal experience of strangers reacting together in the dark. We're talking about those packed Halloween horror crowds all screaming together, or a Saturday morning animated family film filled with kids laughing in perfect unison. That electric, shared human emotion in a crowded room full of strangers, that is the one experience you simply cannot download to your living room. But remember, this entire structure we've been talking about still completely depends on selling you a $9 soda. Which really leaves us to wonder, is the magic of strangers reacting in the dark truly enough to save a 100-year-old business model? The answer to that question will absolutely determine if cinemas survive this decade. So I'll leave you with this. The next time you find yourself complaining about the price of that popcorn, ask yourself, are you just buying a snack, or are you actually paying to keep the building alive?